Welcome everybody to the February Board of Trustees meeting. This meeting is being recorded and is being streamed. We need a roll call, right, Sarah?
Yes.
Go through. So from trustee, we have Dwayne Stanley, Greg Theos, Darren Rose, Samini Sampath, Mara Nathan Webster, Jill Schaefer, Evan Zaborowski, and I think that's it for trustees. We might get one or two more join us later. We do have a quorum. We will go at the end of the meeting into executive session for discussion and strategy for negotiation with representative personnel, as doing so in open session would be detrimental to the process, and we will not reconvene after going into executive session. I did not hear anything about public comment, and I checked with Bella, and Bella will not be attending today, but she did confirm that she hadn't received any requests for public comment, and I don't see anybody dialed in. So unless anybody that's on wants to do any public comment, I think there is no public comment today. And with that, and so you'll see in the consent agenda, we have the report that we've been having every month since we started the construction project about the deviations and things, and how we're using the contingency. It's in the consent agenda, so we don't need to go into detail. But Liana mentioned that there's something that she does want to share from that it will be interesting just to discuss in the open meeting. So I don't know, Liana, if you want to do that now?
Yeah, we could do that now. Can I share my screen? I just did a quick presentation of where we're at with the building.
Yeah, Sarah or Mike, can you? There you go.
Okay, can you see that? All right.
Yes.
All right. So this is just an update on where we're at with the building as of February, as of today. Can you? It's not okay. Can you see the next slide?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I mean, we're not seeing in presentation mode, but that.
Oh, you're not?
No. But that's okay. I mean, we can see the slides.
You see the pictures?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just not full screen. That's all.
Oh, okay. Does that work?
Yes, that's better.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So the last time I presented a building update, we had the foundation poured. Now the steel is erected. So it's looking more and more like a building every day. This is just some pictures of the first floor. As you can see, there's still dirt on the ground. That's coming along. The second floor, so there's some temporary stairs, and we got to go up on the second floor, which was really exciting. A little bumpy to walk on these steel girders. Just some pictures of that. That's our elevator pit, or elevator shaft, and as you can see, it's right now, because of the weather conditions, it's filled up with snow and ice, but that'll go away eventually. And this is super exciting to me anyway. This is the drop zone. This is on the second floor, and over here you can see the drop zone going from the second floor to the first floor. And so this is where the science students are gonna drop things and test the time that it hits the floor, the weight, the speed, and all that kind of crazy stuff. So that was really exciting to see. And this will have all railings all around it, so it'll be completely safe for their kids to do their work. And some things that we'll be seeing coming up in the next few weeks. This week, they were supposed to wrap the building. It'll probably be more like next week, so that they can start pouring the cement on the floors. And then they're continuing working on plumbing. And in mid-March, you'll start to see a roof on the building and also some exterior framing. And then this is the same slide from last week, which is good. We're still on track budget-wise and completion date-wise. And then this was some very exciting news today. I just added this in. This was the very expensive chiller as you can see in the truck, it's being delivered and it was put in place today. They just gotta continue hooking up the pipes so that it will be in working condition. But it was quite an event today. This whole parking area was closed off and you could see the crane getting ready to lift it. So that was very exciting as well. And that's it.
Awesome. I get excited about the big things and the little things. So, you know, seeing the building come up and driving by the school and actually seeing the steel up. I remember when Bob told us, you know, what could go wrong, what could delay things. And one of the things that we talked about was the availability of steel and having the foundation and the, you know, the steel come up. And the fact that it's up, it's such a relief that we're on time. And correct me if I'm wrong, still on budget. And
Yep.
so that's a big thing to be excited about. And when you show that drop zone, you know, the fact that we made this our own and we have something that specifically can be used for an AMSA, you know, I'm pretty sure that idea came from the community and, you know, everybody that participated and provided their input. You know, that's a little thing, but it really exemplifies that this is our building. You know, we make it to fit our needs. So I'm excited about that. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. When you say you had something to share, I frankly thought we were going to talk about dollars and cents and money. So
No, not today.
I'm so glad that was the update. Thank you very much, Leanna. Any questions for Leanna?
No questions. But I drove past Sunday night on the way to a DJ soccer game at Four Kicks, and I saw the lights. I'm like, we have electricity.
Yeah, that's temporary electricity. We're still not hooked in permanently.
Yeah. That's good. All right. If there's no more questions, I guess we can move into the quick votes. We have two sets of minutes to approve. First is the minutes from our January 4th Board of Trustees meeting as attached to the packet. And I have a motion to approve.
So moved, Maura.
Second.
I'll second it, Greg.
That was more.
Who's that, Greg?
Yes, Greg.
Okay.
Do you need a roll call, sir?
Sure. Darren?
Yes.
Dwayne Stanley?
Yes.
Greg Theos?
Yes.
Jill Schaefer?
Yes.
Maura Webster?
Yes.
Raul Porras?
Yes.
Sheila Kelly?
Yes.
Salmini Sampath?
Yes.
Let's see, and Evan Prisborowski.
Yes.
Didn't have the report yet.
Thank you. Motion passes. And the other one, and frankly, when I saw this in the agenda, I thought this happened years ago. Like we probably should have approved this a while ago, but this was literally a month ago, the January 27th strategic planning meeting. So those are the minutes from that meeting from January 27th. So could I hear a motion to approve the minutes from strategic planning session?
So moved by Sheila.
Second by Darren.
Very helpful, thank you. All right, I will call that. Darren Rose?
Yes.
Dwayne Stanley?
Yes.
Evan Prisborowski?
Yes.
Greg Theos?
Yes.
Jill Schaefer?
Yes.
Maura Webster?
Yes.
Raul Porras?
Yes.
Sheila Kelly?
Yes.
And Salmini Sampath?
Abstain.
Abstain.
And the motion passes with one abstention. All right. We'll talk a little bit more about that meeting during chair business. But with that, we can move into the updates. So, Greg, I think we can start with the faculty rep update just to give you a chance to step out if you need to.
Yeah, and I thank you for that, for sure. So as far as my update goes, it's pretty sparse this month. We're entering the long month of March, as teachers call it, with no breaks or anything. One of the things that I think sort of concerns the board that I've been hearing, and perhaps this is a little bit ironic given the motion to go into executive session later, is people are just curious how the negotiations are going. I mean, I will quote to you a comment I got on a survey of contract update, ... For God's sake, some sort of contract update. This person also wrote that, they're trying to plan out what they're doing next year with their life, and it really depends on this contract. And I definitely think, if one person is saying that, there's more than one person in that boat, right? I mean, just speaking for myself, I'm currently looking for a house, as many of you know, since we talked over drinks a few weeks ago. I'm also turning 26, so I get kicked off of my parents' health insurance. So my life also very much depends on the specifics of how this contract works out. And I know, I want to acknowledge that, it's not that simple. You guys can't necessarily talk about everything, especially when you're in negotiations. You probably don't want to talk about stuff without consulting, Steve Smith, who is head of the union. You aren't the board is not necessarily the point of communication about contract updates for teachers, but I definitely think, I don't know, an announcement or two or something might be helpful, because a lot of people are just in the dark and not really sure what to think or do or plan. So that's really the only item that I've got for you guys.
No, that's fair. And, one quick comment on that, since I'm on the negotiating task force, we did have our first meeting, and that's when, proposals go in, there's some discussion. The second meeting, unfortunately, was scheduled for the day that ended up being a snow day. So that second meeting didn't happen. The next one's actually scheduled for next week. So we hopefully will have more to share after next week. But, as you understand, it's a little bit back and forth, and, understanding the specifics and whatnot. So it's understood. And I think you said it correctly. You can go to your representative. The teachers are, should be part of that indirectly by communicating with their union rep, and that's the channel of where the update should be coming from. But of course, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't, as a board, communicate progress and where we are in the process. So appreciate the interest and the concern, and we definitely, on both sides, we want to do this as quickly and efficiently as possible. So hopefully we'll have more to share in our next board meeting.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
Right. Thank you. All right. Any questions for Greg? Anything else for the faculty rep update? All right. If not, was that a hand wave, Sarah? Was that
I was waving goodbye to Greg.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, sorry, I was just typing a message in the chat. I figured I didn't want to interrupt, but
Yes.
I'm going to have to step out now. Everyone have a good night, and I'll see you at the next meeting.
Have a good night. So capital campaign. So, and I guess Maura and Marcy, maybe we'll talk a little bit about this during the update. But we still have a capital campaign update up front, and then the development update during the committee. So we're still keeping them separate. So I don't know if I'm turning it over to Maura or to Marcy, but maybe Marcy, since you came on camera.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually just emailed Sarah today and said I think that we should change the it to say development update or fundraising update rather than capital campaign update. We're sort of shifting away from exclusively calling our fundraising capital campaign or capital project focused, and so I think that we need to be a little more all-encompassing on these agendas. That would be great. So I'll jump in with a couple of things, and I think Maura will jump in about the development committee specifically, right? Yeah, okay, perfect. So just to give, it's been a few months since I've been with you, I'm sorry about that. So just to give a little bit of an update, we're at about $385,000 raised, which is $85,000 new this fiscal year. Just a little interesting data point for everybody. We have 10 monthly recurring gifts at this time, which is about $310 that comes in every month, which is not, certainly not huge, but progress, because that's definitely a way that we want to promote future giving. I'll talk a little bit more about that further down in this update. We're basically at the stage now where we're sort of seeding our garden of, the culture of philanthropy that we're trying to grow community-wide. We're doing a lot of sort of soft asks through giving days, like through Giving Tuesday and through end of year giving. We did a little bit of a Valentine's outreach. We're going to mail letters separately to each of the classes, starting with the seniors. We're going to do a push for the bricks, actually, because we just found out that if we're going to keep the bricks as part of the capital campaign. Those will go in August. And so we only have 63 ordered right now, and we think we need a lot more than that to actually have an impact. So that's like sort of an ongoing discussion, because maybe the bricks will become part of a 20th anniversary campaign, in which case we wouldn't need them done in August. But that's just a discussion that I'm going to have with Lisa next week that I think she'll bring to you guys at another time. We are sort of overhauling the website, the giving pages. Right now, they're very capital focused, and we need to make them support AMSA, Give Now focused. You know, just two little tidbits. For instance, we don't have a Give Now button on our homepage. You have to sort of dig in to get that. The alumni section doesn't have a Give Now button. You know, we need to just clear some of that stuff up and make it easier for people to come in and give us money. And I think that we'll do that, you know, pretty inclusively throughout the entire school. Like, for instance, throw the Give Now button in some newsletters that we send out. Certainly, you know, when teachers are promoting events that might need funding, throw a Give Now button or a QR code on stuff like that. Like, I know that the hackathon that happened on February 10th and 11th, that would have, on that flyer, we easily could have had a QR code on there for people to support that. Sort of how we're talking about money right now is we absolutely need annual support, but some of the money that we have coming in too can be budget relieving. And that's an important thing, I think, for parents to understand. And so we're just trying to make sure that our language is, as descriptive and inclusive as possible. We are working on a couple of grants. The grant writing has been pretty slow, as I'm sure you all know. We had a couple of early success points, but we haven't had much go on in the past couple of months. And so we have 4 that we're working on, and we are still working with Betsy, who was the original development consultant before I started, but, on an hourly, very few hours per month basis to work on some of that. And I'm doing some of it too. And then we actually have had 2 good meetings over the past 2 weeks. We met with the Major Gifts Committee and sort of talked a little bit about recalibrating our expectations and recalibrating the type of prospects that we're seeking, what, the dollar size means for a major gift, how to grow those gifts, how to make those gifts recurring gifts, committed, having people commit over 3 to 5 years, all of those things. And then we also had a great meeting with the chair of the STEM Soaring Eagles board. And we're doing some really good strategic planning and thinking with that group right now, sort of rewriting some job descriptions, setting expectations, and trying to grow that group too. We have a meeting with that board as is on March 11th, and I think we're just going to have some ongoing conversations about bylaws and purpose and all of that other stuff. So that's been really nice. And then sort of just generally, one of the ideas that we're tossing around is sort of wrapping our heads around an AMSA fund that would sort of run from now through the 20th year anniversary. And I think that the target would be greater participation at a lower dollar threshold. So we'd have more people that would be actively giving, not necessarily. I think we sort of have all realized that we just didn't have the relationships to get those $250,000, $500,000, $750,000 gifts this early in. It takes a long time to cultivate those. So I think we need to start thinking a little bit more about embracing more people at a lower dollar threshold and growing those relationships and cultivating those opportunities.
Sounds like a lot going on. And speaking for myself, I know that looked into the bricks, and you made a comment when you joined us that we were kind of delaying the timing of that to align more with where we were with the bigger campaign. So I'm excited to hear that time is now. So I'm sure there'll be more information shared with that, but I'll be ready to jump on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm meeting with Lisa on Tuesday just to talk a little bit more about it, but we'll definitely be pushing that more, making it more prominent. We're thinking about setting a sort of baseline. If you give a certain level of gift, you get a brick automatically added in, and working in that direction. Certainly marketing it to parents of seniors, sentimental, all of that other stuff. So.
Thank you, Marcy. If I remember correctly, I tried doing it once and I was told actually to pause on it. This was like a year and a half ago. So I feel like the discoverability has been a little bit of an issue. So I'm glad to hear you say that we're going to be pushing harder, because I'm on the site right now just trying it out, and it's definitely a fun one to try and do. But I like what you're saying about some of the other permutations, about a certain level and then you'd get a break automatically. Making that workflow easy for the community would be great. So thanks for looking into that.
Absolutely.
Right.
And then I don't know if right now is the time, but I think Maura wanted to talk a little bit about the development committee, but is that further down in the agenda too? I don't actually know.
Yeah, I can
Yeah,
wait
we-
until the development
Okay.
update. It's fine.
Yeah, I know
Marcy's doing all the heavy lifting right now.
Well, and that's, I know I kind of say this every time, we're trying to figure out what's the right model for structure, like development committee versus fundraising update and whatnot. But I mean, if you're okay with doing this on a regular basis, Marcy, I think this is good to have you represent what the kind of from the administration side is being done on fundraising. And then of course that's related to the development committee work, but then those being two separate things. And how do we organize the development committee itself? I know that Maura maybe has an update on that, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, that's great. It's my pleasure to come as often as I can. So
Yeah, perfect. Any other comments or questions for Marcy? I'm just gonna make one comment. You mentioned 10 recurring gifts, and we have 10 trustees, not counting one of the representatives. So I hope, I'm assuming that's not a coincidence, but if it is a coincidence, maybe everybody can consider that from the board. That's an easy way to participate in the fundraising, to make sure we can say we have 100% board participation. So you don't have to remember to do it every year. It just happens.
that's a great plug. That's a great plug, Raul. Thank you so much.
I don't know. I was trying to see people were looking at the camera, looking at me. So hopefully they get the message. All right. Parent update. Thank you, Marcy, again. Dwayne.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so this is going to be brief for this month. I did get to go to the PTO meeting, the last PTO meeting, and thank you, Sarah, for allowing me to get an email address. So that email address was broadcasted through and shared by the PTO. So hopefully I start to get some correspondence from parents. That's just one avenue that I'm trying to do to get some feedback from parents. And I welcome any other ideas as to how to get the parent community outside of any of these boards or any of the committees that the school currently have from parent involvement. Just to reach out to the community as a whole, because I know this is not a representation of the entire parent body, but I just want to see if we can get more participation from parents. I did talk to some parents that there's a couple parents that are with me. The kids are doing like an off-season soccer league. I did talk to some of those parents, and they seem to be wanting to, give their feedback and that type of stuff. But like I said, I have yet to hear that. So until then, these updates will be brief, but still looking for different ways of actually engaging with the parent community, just to see, any of their thoughts, whether it's big or small, that type of stuff. But like I said, outside of these boards and other committees that the school has parent involvement with, is pretty scarce. Even the PTO, like just the meetings themselves, there's maybe a handful of folks that come outside of the folks who are actually on the PTO board. So I'll work with them on thinking of how we can actually get more engagement from parents as well.
Good. Any questions for Dwayne?
Dwayne, often no news is good news.
Yeah. Sometimes I wonder too, but
Well, let me know how I can help you, Dwayne. This is Sarah. Let me know how I can help.
Will do.
Great. Excellent. So moving on, next we have chair business. I only have, I guess, two little things. One is, since I just realized that, we didn't, this is the first meeting we've had since strategic planning I know a lot of you came, but a quick summary of what we did that we try not to repeat what we do every year. And in the last few years, we focused a lot in goals, and I think we've made some progress in defining those goals for this year and the next couple of years. So we have good handle on goals. So we didn't focus on goals. We focused on getting other areas of the strategy. And if you remember, we have different parts of the strategy page that we're filling out over time. But we did spend some time celebrating our accomplishments. So I think that was a great discussion. Not going to go into details, but it's accomplishments of the school, right? Core values, the working facilities. There was some discussion about the union agreement, which I know is very timely based on where we are in the comments that Greg just made. But Greg actually made the comment that in general, teachers feel that it's a net good. It's a net good that we have a union and the way we have come together. We talked about the focus on development, and Marcy just exemplified that with her update and everything that we've been doing. So these are things that were not in place, a few years ago. So I think it was worth celebrating those accomplishments. So we did that. We then talked about the road ahead. What we discussed a little bit of what we thought was going to be the biggest challenges in AMSA going forward. And then at the end, to me, the biggest outcome of that meeting was framing our strategic challenge. So we picked one strategic challenge, and I'm just going to read it out loud because it's something that we kind of wordsmithed a little bit, which was to balance, how do we balance resources between students, teachers, and infrastructure in the near future? And I think it was a very short conversation to agree that we should prioritize teachers next. And it sounds like an obvious choice right now based on where we are, but also that helps all the other areas. We spent a lot of time focusing on infrastructure in the last couple of years. Very exciting updates today and where we are with the building, et cetera. And that's definitely something that we want to keep an eye on. But now it's time to say, let's find out ways that we can increase the size of the pie for teachers. And then that was the other discussion. What does that mean? And we said, well, definitely salary. So, how do we achieve that? How do we get there? And then we started talking about what do we need? What additional resources do we need to provide to teachers? So, we definitely said we want to do whatever we can to make sure we meet an answer to external factors like inflation, the economy, et cetera, and teachers' plans and making sure that they're taken care of. But then the next practical question is, how do we do that? So we had some discussion about how do we kind of create that bigger bucket, or that increase the size of the pie. We didn't pick just one, so that's kind of where the effort of strategic planning kind of goes next. Is okay, we have some options, some things we can do all of them. But the whole point of strategy is that you need to find an area of focus and take it from there. So we'll bring it back, as we try to turn this into an actionable plan. But I think it's worth sharing for those that weren't there and for everybody else listening that was, our focus on strategic planning was to agree that we want to focus on teachers in the next few years. We want to make sure that what we do is to make sure that they're taken care of and that we're finding creative ways of filling the gap between where we are and where we want to be, given that we have our sources of revenue are so, I would say, unpredictable, and there's different things that we can do, not only fundraising but also advocacy, et cetera, that we should all think about. So, and I'll leave it at that unless somebody wants to discuss further. But that's just a quick update on what we did in January, which again feels like a long time ago, but that was only a month ago. Any other comments about strategic planning? Anything that I missed that you guys want to share? Yeah, it was good to get together in person. So that was the first time we got together in person for a while. So definitely was a good use of our time, in my opinion. And then the other thing that I just wanted to bring up, because I actually don't know where else in the agenda we do that before we go into executive session, would be our next meeting. So our next meeting, our next full board meeting, because we might have more a focused special meeting when we get together to talk about the teacher contract. But the next full board meeting will be March 28th, as it's in the calendar. At some point, we have said we want to alternate between in-person and virtual. So is everybody good with doing March 28th in person at the school? Thumbs up. Yes. All right. So that's your answer, Sarah. We're meeting in person on the 28th. And then, we can talk more about that later. But as the calendar goes, we kind of merged the April and May meeting. So we're going to meet in early May, which is something we do normally around because of the holiday, the break, the April break. So that would be the following meeting that would be remote. And then June we'll meet in person. which will be the last one of the school year. So, all right. So that was just logistical thing to get out of the way. Any other comments? Anything else? Then we can move to the committee reports then. Development, Maura.
All right. Well, thank you again to Marcy for really everything and where we are at the moment. I think we're in a really good spot in the shift to really focus on sort of the culture of philanthropy as a whole, which is much more focused on the long-term success of the school and fundraising as a whole. So I think that's great. To that end, we've talked a lot, as you guys might remember, the development committee has sort of been on pause because the members were mostly on all of the capital campaign committees. And so we were sort of saying the same things over and over again ad nauseum. But we have been meeting to sort of reorganize everything. And Marcy did mention that we're going to be establishing roles and goals for each of the committees. Specifically, she mentioned STEM, Soaring Eagles. And we're going to be doing that on the development side as well. And I actually had a great conversation with Darren. He has some experience with sort of committee organization, specifically development, and some great ideas of how we can establish specific roles, goals, and objectives moving forward as a committee, which we haven't necessarily had because we haven't had this sort of culture of philanthropy. We now actually have really big goals and objectives. So that being said, we are looking to roll the members of the Major Gifts Committee into the Development Committee and resume our regular meetings as the Development Committee of the board. And so this, I think, is just the first step in sort of a big reorganization of how we do development at AMSA. And so the two sort of most active members who aren't on the Development Committee already are Cindy Zomar and Mary Jo Naraki. And so we're going to be kind of rolling them over into the Development Committee and starting to meet monthly. And so we'll have updates moving forward.
So then hopefully it addresses that kind of double dipping, and you guys make it efficient, having to meet twice or repeating yourselves. And
yeah, it will be. We will have a streamlined set of meetings, which will be great, and really focus on the strategy and the direction of where we're going, which is very much sort of the board level involvement and development with that committee. So that's good. Darren, anything else you want to add to that?
Fewer meetings are always good.
yeah,
I like it. It's a good plan.
Very true.
Less overhead, right? Fewer committees, fewer meetings, more work. It's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then strengthening Soaring Eagles too. I mean, I think that there's an opportunity there for them not to be just a fiscal agent, but also an active actor in fundraising for the school.
Yeah, and I foresee more coordinated interaction between the two, which I think is necessary and will be a really good thing.
Excellent. All right. Any questions for Mara or Darren? No? You guys are quiet today. All right, then we can move on to finance. Thank you very much, Mara and Darren. Roger.
Yes. Thank you, Roll. We had our finance meeting on Tuesday. We have basically two report outs from it. The first is we received a update on the building project, and overall great news. We've had less adjustments that were found in the building project than we would have expected up to this point, and hope that that continues. So, and in regards to the school budget for next year, we have started planning on that. We received our first round of we received our first round view of the budget, and more work continues on it. The finance committee gave their initial feedback on the budget, and it's Liana and Lisa are working hard on the next iteration of the budget. And that's the finance report.
Good. I think we'll have a more exciting report once we start talking about the contract negotiations, which we're in the middle of. So looking forward to that soon. All right.
I'm going to take governance for Salmini, Raul, just so you know.
Yes, no, I would assume so. Go for it.
Thank you, Sheila.
Yeah. So we met, we talked about the topic calendar for the year ahead for the board, and just one kind of ask for the wider board would be, one of the things we're really trying to include on that is board education. And obviously we do open meeting law, which we have to do. But if there are topics that you would like us to cover, I know Raul brought in the staff member from Board on Track, and that was kind of helpful. But if there are other topics that you'd like us to schedule in, we're happy to find people who can speak to them. And we want that education to be based on what the board wants and needs. So just plea for suggestions there. You can get those to Salmini or me or Raul for the governance committee. We also just talked about timelines for our bylaws and our handbooks, and just kind of really solidifying our regular reviews of those things as is necessary for us. And continue to work on the executive session minutes and just the release of those once the call for their seclusion is kind of over. And again, we don't release those, those are released upon request once they are cleared. So that's about it.
Yeah, and maybe a bit of detail if you're curious about the education topics. We talked a little bit about merging that with a topic calendar. So we don't want to make it a requirement that every year we review the same education topics, but at least for the next cycle, we suggested doing a charter renewal session in May, and Sarah's volunteered to help us with that because nobody's more of an expert on our charter process than Sarah at AMSA. Doing open meeting law, like Sheila mentioned, we put that for September, and then having October be our board's role in development, which Marcy has done in the past, and she did when she had just joined. So that would be something helpful. Hopefully not news to Marcy that we talked about that and potentially being a topic for October. And then having something in November, December time frame more focused on finance, finance 101, which again, we didn't specify who's going to do it or how we're going to do it, but just to say this might be interesting topics to help bring the board up to speed on things that are relevant for what we do every day. So think about that. What else do you think you would wish more about, or that you feel sometimes that you're not comfortable asking questions because you're not really familiar with the topic or whatnot. We definitely want to encourage participation. We want to encourage everybody to be on the same page. So that was the idea behind putting education topics in the calendar. So you'll see that when you see the topic calendar, but of course we're open to kind of changing it or adding topics or doing things differently as they come along. Awesome. Any other comments for Sheila? Questions for governance? Then last but not least, education, Roger.
Education committee meeting is very short because we did not meet in February. We will be meeting March 7th to discuss the how to roll out the school survey for the school and staff survey for this year.
Okay. Excellent. And we're still shooting for April timeframe?
Yes.
Okay. So stay tuned for our annual survey, school, family and staff surveys that go out. Looking forward to that. Excellent. So that's all I have for a regular meeting. Unless anybody has anything else, last minute topics. If not, then I will entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss negotiation strategies with representative personnel.
Do we have special guests?
Yes, and I would like to invite, thank you, Maura. I'd like to invite Mike Noraki and Liana McLaren. I don't think, Liana, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not going to have Andy tonight, correct? Well, I'll invite Andy just to make it.
No, he's not coming.
Okay, all right. So then, do I hear a motion?
Will Lisa be going? Will Lisa be attending?
I don't believe so because she wasn't available unless.
All right. Got it.
So
All right.
moved to go into executive session, Darren.
Aaron?
Second by Evan.
Evan. Oops. Okay. And I will call. Darren Rose,
Yes.
Dwayne Stanley,
Yes.
Evan Prisbrowski,
Yes.
Jill Schaefer,
Yes.
Maura Webster,
Yes.
Raul Porras,
Yes.
Roger Jarrett,
Yes.
Sheila Kelly,
Yes.
Salmini Sampath.
Yes.
Motion passes. We'll be in executive session. Sarah will let you know when we adjourn.